Hello and welcome to the Fat Dad Fishing Show live stream and podcast. My name is Rich Natoli, and as usual, I'm joined by the very lovely, very talented, my bestie, Ed Gobo, owner of Captain Hank's Tackle. How you doing, Ed?
You know it's a bad time when I'm the voice of reason and on tech things.
I'll tell you what, man. So yeah, it was all my fault, guys. I'm sorry we're late. We're 7 minutes late, and it's all my fault because I was on earlier talking with Todd, who's our guest tonight, and he'll be on in a moment, everybody. And everything worked. And then as soon as I tried to log in about 20 minutes early, 15, 20 minutes early, my mic didn't work. Then I got the mic working, then the sound didn't work. And then we somehow got it going. So thank you everybody for hanging out, sticking with us. It's the fun of a live broadcast. Want to have a couple of things that we want to go through real quick before we start.
Yes.
One thing that's pretty cool is, and I can't verify this because I spent so much time focused on getting my mic working. We should be broadcasting live to the Fat Dad Fishing channel, YouTube channel, and Facebook page, and to the Long Island Lethals YouTube channel right now. So
yeah,
there you go.
Live.
There you go. Now, but are we live on Long Island Lethals? It's a new thing for us.
That I don't know.
We can check that. I'm sure he's checking it out in the background right now. So pretty cool. We now have this new functionality. So, hey, if we have somebody coming on with their own channel, why not? He's got his own audience who probably wants to check it out. So welcome to everybody over there. Welcome to everybody that's normally here. A couple of other updates. We had talked about a Tautog trip on the Osprey, right? And I'm not going to say it right now. And the reason I'm not going to say it right now is because, Ed, you and I have not registered for it yet. Is that correct?
No, I haven't booked anything.
So it will be posted on the Fat Dad Fishing page on Facebook tomorrow. The date, it will be the Osprey. It will be in December, a Tautog trip. So everybody who wants to get together, jump on the boat in Atlantic City. We're going to try to get a lot of people together. I talked to them today and they said, yeah, we got room on the date. So
how funny would it be if everyone booked the boat and then we didn't get a spot?
That's why I'm not going to say. I was going to remind you when I logged in 20 minutes early and then I couldn't talk. So yeah. So we have the date. We'll announce that tomorrow. Be awesome to get a lot of people there. Other things, Black Friday deal, fatdadfishing.com. If you want hat, sweatshirt, anything like that, it's 15% off through the 30th. And we're going to just go through real quick. Next week, the broadcast is going to be Ed and I, and we're going to be going through good things that you can pick up for Christmas gifts for fishermen, or things that we would recommend that you ask people for, products that we use, have tried, or really, really want. And we'll be very clear which is which.
Yes, and we may have another special guest as well.
Yeah, he's in the chat, so we'll see. Ed and I haven't gotten to talk about it. So, and then we're going to have Scotty Sevens coming up later in the month on just an episode that's not talking about products. And we got a lot of stuff going on. The last thing is we had talked about doing one more contest where you can win a Fat Dad Fishing hat or t-shirt or something like that. We'll give you a choice of some things, but it's when we hit 3,200 subs on YouTube or 45 podcast reviews on Apple. That's what we need. Once we hit that, we'll do it, and we're going to do it differently. We're going to do a live drawing type of deal. So we're not going to be collecting names ahead of time. The day that we announce that we're going to do the giveaway, we're just going to do it with the people that are already on in chat and have posted. So that's what we're doing right now.
We'll probably do a Captain Hank's gift certificate towards some monies towards a new rod or something.
Yeah. So we're working on all that stuff, but due to the late start, I don't want to be hanging out too much with you and me, Ed. You good if we move on, or you have anything you want to hit first?
No, I mean, we'll bring up my weekend adventure and conversation, I'm sure. So
yeah, we will. So as we,
other than that, let it rip.
Right before we bring Todd in, we'll just mention the people that are in the chat right now. We have James Flynn. We have my brother Tom, participation trophy, Bill Deekhouse, Long Island Lethals, who is our guest. Let's see. We've got Charlie in there. Good to see you, man. White Perch, Joe Billups, Scotty Sevens, me in there, or you apologizing on my behalf for being late. Mr. Johnson, EM, Crabbing and Fishing. Ben, good to see you. And Jack West, I might be missing a few. Tommy Lamana, what is that? Yagel 11.
And real quick for Ben, I just got your text message. I'm not giving out any secret information. I can't do that.
No secret information and anarchy fishing. So guys, welcome. Glad to see you here. And with that said, we're going to bring on Long Island Lethals himself, Todd. How you doing? Welcome to the stream.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Sorry about all the screw ups in the background.
Oh, I thought it was going to be me.
Yeah, you're sitting there all nice and relaxed. Ed's laughing at me, and I'm desperately trying to get things.
The look
going.
of desperation was great. I should have screenshotted that.
I don't know if I looked desperate. I looked annoyed. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
Did I look desperate, Todd?
No, you were steaming in and out of the room a few times.
Yeah. Well, you know what I had to do is I had to get an adapter for the computer. So the port that I was plugging the mic in, I switched to another one. So I had to get an adapter for it to work, and now it works. So maybe it's just, I don't know, a bad port. Who the hell knows? It's what you want to hear on a $1,600 laptop. You can't put the mic in it. So, but anyway, so thank you for coming on. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. And more specifically, after you shared that video of the bad boaters. So we have to get the bad boaters out of the way first. And Ed, you've got your bad boater story that you're going to bring up as well. But yeah. We did show it on the stream a couple of weeks ago, the video of that guy coming up to you, trying to knock you off the spot. And it didn't look good. What I just want to get straight from you. What are your thoughts on guys like that out on the water?
That's interesting because it actually just happened in the Agile. It was to his boat. I was on his boat with another captain who's friends with that captain, and I'm actually friends with. And I kind of let him know that I wouldn't let it happen again on my boat. But I don't practice my fishing that way. I think it's ridiculous. I think these guys puff their chest. They're over there. I've been doing this 30 years. And you and your skiff, your little boat. They always talk down here. And if you're so good, why don't you just go hit another piece right over here or right over there? There's an eighth of a mile, 5 minutes that way. You're so good. Yeah. You probably have more spots than I can even count, and I have like 1,500 marks on my chart. So it's like, I think it's a joke, honestly. But,
yeah. And the difference is that you were there obviously first. I mean, we could see you fishing, and then he comes steaming up to you. I looked at him, and I don't know the guy. But I looked at the background. I wouldn't be shocked if this is a guy who doesn't have spots. All he has is what granddaddy told him from the 40s, and he's still fishing the same pieces, and that's it.
The one thing I could say that I can understand, but still it doesn't validate the behavior, is if there's a good piece and that you want to get your customers on some good fish. I can understand the frustration of other boats being there, not being able to fish it, but just what are you going to do? I would just move along. Why make a big deal out of it?
Yeah. You can always come back.
It's not going to make your day any better. What I mean? Like, obviously it didn't make our day better.
And I'll tell you what, if I was a paying fare on one of those boats and my captain acted that way towards someone else, I wouldn't be paying to go back on that boat. Yeah, that can't be a good look for that captain.
No, the customers can feel all that frustration and all the work. They don't want to deal with that. They want to go out and get away from land and all the frustration you have on land and all that stress. Enjoy some fishing. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, what are you going to do? Take up for the captain? You just feel embarrassed. You're out there. You're the one out there on the deck. The captain's sitting in the cockpit, and you're the one who has to stare down the other boat while your captain's acting like an ass.
Dude, I wish the captain saw the face of his one customer that just looked at me, put his head down, smiled, and shook his head and just looked up at me. I was like, yeah, I feel the same way. What's going on here?
Ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Ed, you had a similar encounter this week, so why don't you tell everyone real quick about that?
Yeah, so we had a last minute invite to go togging with a friend of mine at the Brigantine Bridge, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers, at least down this way, have dealt with the Brigantine Bridge. So in the middle, there's quite a large icebreaker. So we were to the Atlantic City side, not the Brigantine side. So we were at that icebreaker, and we were on the inside of it. So there's the icebreaker, and there's a large concrete, or I think it's actually granite, but where the pilings sit on, there's a big abutment. So we were spot locked in between. The abutment was behind us, and the icebreaker was to our left. So we're, maybe a boat's width off the icebreaker, just trying to not bounce this brand new Mako off of the off of the icebreaker. And this guy in this old piece of crap red and white 4 winds dual console with a barely running Johnson 130 comes steaming up. And we're like, what's this guy doing? We're rigging rods, getting ready. This guy comes between the motor and the abutment, and then snakes up in between us and the icebreaker. And I'm looking at this guy, and I wasn't one of my finest moments, but he definitely heard the F word multiple times. I asked him, I said, what is wrong with you? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, this is my spot. And I look at him, I said, you own the effing Brigantine Bridge? Like, how does this work? I said, buzz off. And he tied his piece of crap boat right to that abutment and sat there the whole time.
Yeah. That's where you call the Marine police, let them jet the 2 seconds from their station and give them a ticket for tying off to the bridge, which I would never do unless somebody does something like that.
I don't know how it works in other states, but in New Jersey, state Marine police are guys that are about ready to retire. And on a cold day, they ain't coming out.
Yeah.
And it was cold. So we were pretty much on our own. But
that's a good point. Yeah, they're like, whatever, dude. We see you in the binocular. I mean, they could see you from there.
Yeah, they could paddle a kayak there. I don't know. It was if I was a little bit younger, I probably would have jumped into his boat.
No, it's a good thing you're a little bit older. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
If I had been in my old boat, I might have just let the spot lock go and just drifted. Drifted a little bit into them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we won't talk about that stuff. That is not the way to handle it. I should never say something like that.
That's the first thing Coast Guard looks for. Any type of damage, anybody gets hurt. You don't want any of that.
No, definitely not. All right. So that's the bad boaters thing. We've covered that. But Todd, you've been having a hell of a season up there in Long Island, and specifically Tautog, which is very rapidly taking over the scene. It's been, in New Jersey, I don't know specifically what it's been like in your area for the striped bass, but yet again, we have a just absolutely crazy fall run going on down in New Jersey. But it's going to come to an end soon, and it's going to push offshore again, and people are going to very quickly shift over to blackfish. Some people like Dick Devereaux, I don't know if he's in here, he will only fish for the blackfish. But we need to talk about that because you've had a hell of a season so far. How would you summarize your season so far this year with Tautog?
This has been the best season I've ever had. I mean, just amazing. Every trip I've had out has been an 8-pound or better fish on the boat. A lot of 5-6 pound class fish. I mean, maybe not too many 16, 17s coming up until this last trip when it got really cold. With that cold weather, you start seeing them come up pale. The bite gets scratchy, and I think the fish are just they go into that slower feeding stage, and they start moving offshore. They start to migrate. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a few weeks left, but me, I don't want to be out there in the water. It's getting cold. I'll go on someone else's boat. Center console at like 45 miles an hour is not fun, man.
No, that's no good. So you're fishing in the Sound, right? So what depths are you fishing?
So like that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, I've only been in fishing like 6 years. My second season, I really started getting into blackfish, and I was using the Virginia blue hooks, a single hook or whatever it was. So it says blackfish on this package. This must be it, right?
Right.
And they work, but I'm like, damn, these things keep stealing my bait. Like,
I got a pack of them on the wall.
And it's annoying, but a lot of guys were like, yeah, you start off in the shallow, the fish are in shallow when the water's warmer earlier on in the season, and then you work into your depths. And I followed, I'm just going by what people are saying, what I'm hearing. And then getting into like, my third, fourth year, I started to get invites from friends and guys who were going down to like Maryland and Rhode Island catching these bigger fish. And, then I started learning about white crab and mud crab and these different crabs you can use. And, the depths they fished out there. I fished in 230 feet of water in Maryland, and that blew my mind. Cause like I read by a popular, another popular YouTube channel and fish company, they were talking about like these fish are in 100 feet, 40 feet of water, and they won't go any more than like 30, 40 miles offshore. I'm like, but these fish are in 230, so that's obviously wrong, you know? So, so after seeing that, I'm like, you know what, maybe let me just try something different, start doing my own thing and learning on my own. And I started to just, start fishing deeper earlier. And, looking at ground is a big thing. I started looking at slopes, and I watch like the gold shows, like Gold Rush and whatnot, and they're always talking about the ground and then like the waterfalls and rivers and how you get these deposits, and boulders are usually on top of that gold. Well, if you look at contours and cutouts and channels where deep water is moving fast, that's exactly what's there. So, I started looking at areas like that, and sure enough, they hold big blackfish, and just started, fishing deeper,
So you're looking at the contours underneath. So are you saying that you're not necessarily looking for boulders or wrecks or anything like that, but you're looking for ledges?
Yeah, ledges.
Yeah.
But also like around land, you'll see landmarks, and you'll see piles of rock along the beach and the shoreline. And if the rocks are big, there's got to be more big rock down under the water. The topography, the cartography chips, they help a lot to show you what's going on down there. A lot of captains don't like them. They say it's going to ruin fishing. I mean, yeah, there's probably some truth to that. People are going to catch better, and once they learn what they're doing, and they find ground faster. But
and you just said it though, they have to learn, and a lot of people don't want to learn it. They just
there's the bent rod net boat, go over there.
Right. Yeah, they won't put the time in to learn. So I don't agree with that. I don't think any of this stuff's going to ruin fishing.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, especially with regulations, like you were just talking about stripers. Last season was the best striper season I've seen, and I think it was because of the slot size. We've had a lot of big fish and a lot more fish around. Spring came and we were catching 40 inches in the bay, man. I hadn't seen that in a few years. And, I think that's what has to do with, the right regs. But,
yeah, I think the regs definitely have something to do with it. I think it's interesting though, with the striped bass. It used to be crazy to see a 50 pounder. And I've seen, ones that people claim are 50 pounds this year that I actually believe, that are clearly 50 plus, 55 plus.
Jersey's got some big bass, man. I see a lot of pics, on social media. I'm like, wow, I wish they were like that here, but but it's for a brief period, and you got to be on the right boat, know when they're here and get out there.
Yeah, well, you got to jump over to the Raritan Bay. Then you'll be on them. That's where it all starts, and that's where they just sit there forever. But there are big fish down the coast, though. But going back to the Tautog, so you're fishing. I think it's interesting that you said you're fishing also the ledges and not necessarily just the rocks.
Well, that was the thing. You going back to the rocks. Everybody's like, oh, they're in the rocks and the rocks. And I got my friends like, oh, well, this feels sandy. We got to move. And that's not the case too. Once I started using my side scan to see boulders and rocks, that's great. But if you're not seeing the fish, they're not there. You might, build a bite. We call it building the bite.
Yeah.
And bring fish in through scent if there's moving water. But, you really got to see the fish. So I'll look for them on my down scan. But once I learned how to see the fish on my side scan through guys in Florida, that's when it was the game changer. Now I can see them in size, like big ones, and I can target big fish through the side scan.
Have you used the live scope yet?
No, I was thinking about getting him. Like, do I really want like another thing to deploy off the boat? Like, you know, like it's like got the Minn Kota. You got, it's like I think I'm doing well enough with it that I don't need it. It'd be cool to watch him. Like, oh, there he goes. He's going after the jig. But other than that, I really don't think it's going to be that great or useful of a tool.
It's pretty bananas. I mean, we used it in a tournament, and we didn't use it much. I think we were just kind of playing around with it when nothing was going on. It was pretty cool, but it was really tough for me to see what was going on.
It's hard to get your bearings with it.
I think you could get like it will definitely bring your side scan level to like that next level up where okay they're still under the boat or wait they're gone. Maybe we should move where they go. You know, is it time to move? Especially if it's crunch time, you're in a tournament. You know, you've only got so many hours left to get back to weigh in or something. You know, I could see maybe then it being worth it.
But. Yeah, and that's what we pulled it out when we realized we had very little chance left to get a fish. So we may as well put that down. We did. It was pretty cool. But to your point, using that with side scan would have been awesome. You know, using the side scan for the structure and then putting it over. But also, I mean, let's be honest, we were fishing for striped bass. It's probably not the best for striped bass. It just a regular side scan will show everything around you for a striped bass because they're certainly big enough to show up easily on that. All right, I keep going off this Tautog thing. I got to stop doing that because I really want to hear about it. So you've been in a couple of tournaments over the past couple of years. You've done pretty well, right?
Yeah. So this year was the second time in 3 years we got first and second place in the tournament. Last year we had third place. So you know it definitely goes down to seeing this. With a side scan and down scan, I used to always use my down scan, but now with side scan, I can cover 600 feet of ground as I'm moving along, scanning the bottom. You've got your down scope and you've got 300 feet left, 300 feet right, depending on your depth. I mean, for me, the guys in Florida do it a little different. Like I like to do triple the distance of my depth to get the most accurate view of my side scan where I could see clearly and also see a decent sized fish, because once you go beyond that, the fish is just getting smaller. It's like you're scoping out. And with covering 600 feet of ground as opposed to like 30 feet of ground in a cone going down, but also being able to see, holy cow, there's 4 really big fish right there. 2 look like 8s and 2 look like 10s or 11s. You know, you always paying attention to the screen has helped me, because I'll always be like fishing and you'll see me staring back at my screen constantly because I want to know, what's biting me. Okay, is there bait in the water for the fluke, or what's going on down there? And that's how you determine, okay, those are sea bass, or that's definitely Tautog. That's a good Tautog. Look at the size of the mark, that kind of stuff. And it's helped out a lot. But
I have to get better at that. One thing so I do most of my fishing in a kayak, and I spend a lot of time like you do looking at the screen, but it's in front of me, thank God. So at least I'm looking in the correct direction. Makes the videos a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, and there was a question in here from Participation Trophy Fishing, just asking what resolution and what machine are you using? Because here's the one thing that I hear a lot. I'll talk about how I use side scan or down scan, and people will say, well, mine doesn't do that. I can't see anything on it. And it's got to be a factor of a couple of things. Most of the machines you should get a clear image out of, but what are the settings you're using, and what machine specifically are you using?
So I have the the Garmin 8612, and I have the Humminbird Solix 12. And the reason why I wanted the Humminbird is because of the link system. To have it linked with the trolling motor, you've got so many more options and so much more you can do with that machine. I would say that Humminbird for shallow water, which blows my mind that these guys in Florida don't use it down there. They're more like Simrad and whatnot. Yeah. They have a higher frequency. And high frequencies for shallow water, like 16 feet, you got it on high frequency. It gives you so much fine detail of what's below you. You can see every little thing. I use 455 for everything I pretty much do, because I really don't fish that shallow. I feel like anything over 30 foot, you should be using 455, because it's going to give you a broader view, and it's going to pick up those bigger fish that are down there. You're going to lose detail trying to get, all that detail with the higher frequency. It just doesn't look the same on the screen to me.
Yeah.
But all the units, I mean, Garmin's great. If Garmin linked to the Hummingbird, I might want 2 Garmin's, because the Garmin machines they're really good. I think they're user friendly, and the imaging to me looks, I don't know if it's brighter, and that's how I see the fish. Like, so fish will show up bright to me. You'll get your rock. Let's say I use it like emerald green. That's the color I like, because you get really dark shading off the rock and in the crevices and whatnot, but then you get really bright colors, and the brights are usually the fish, and you'll see it looks like it's the overhead of a fish. It's shaped like that, like almost like a pill, it looks like, or the top profile of a fish if you're looking over it. Again, they're always in. One of the things I do is I always try to scan going with current, because with these fish, they're hanging out in the current, like snook. I don't know if you're like snook fishing down there. When the current's moving, they stack up, and they form like a line like this, and they're just waiting for the bait to come at them, and they smash the bait.
Yeah,
these
like
fish,
striped bass.
Yeah, these fish are doing that at the bottom, man. They don't want to swim. They don't want to deal with this current, so they're just hanging it down at the bottom until it's done. They're trying to, keep all their energy reserved for when it's time to eat, when the current slows down. And you'll just see them sitting with the current. It's much easier to see the fish if I'm going with the current than going across the current. The image you get distorted, especially if you're turning. I always try to make sure my passes are perfectly straight when I want to scan something, because as soon as you turn the boat, it deviates and changes the entire view. It like kind of blurs it. So that's another important thing to do.
So, all right. So let's just stop for a second here. If people aren't writing this down, because I know people aren't doing this, right? I know I very rarely do it. I'll go in the right spirit, and then next thing you know, I'm doing like 360s and all over the place, looking like an idiot. But I know people aren't doing this kind of stuff, and I know they aren't thinking about it from that perspective. So that right there is great information, and hopefully some people.
A lot of people are going to be pissed at me because they don't like me giving this information out, because but it is what it is,
Yeah, I get a lot of that. People, I have plenty of haters telling me that I'm ruining fishing because I'm helping people. Well,
like
somebody's got to help.
Someone else is going to be fishing. There's going to be people out there on the water. Like, there's going to be fish. Calm down. You're going to get your catch in your life. It's like, really, people.
Yeah, and I don't know what they're all upset about, because they're all the best in the world. I must have 24 best in the world on every single species that doesn't like me. It's not even like I'm giving great information. I'm just giving whatever I can.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. It really is.
Yeah. I think it's a great point, especially with the frequency that you're, I guess, pinging at, when you're going over, because I think a lot of people just kind of lock it in, right? And they leave it there. I can't tell you how many people say, I don't know why, but they like to say high chirp. So everything is high chirp. It's like, what's 50 feet of water? What are you using high chirp for?
Yeah.
Because it's more better.
It's more better.
The one thing I did notice when I put all the screens on, I do the 4, where it's got the chart, the clear view, the side scan, and then the 2D. It does change to some kind of chirp, and I can't change that frequency. I haven't figured out how to do it yet when it's on the 4 screen, but on the 4 screen, you get so much more clarity on what's down there, like 3D visual, even on the down scan. And I'm like, man, I wish it was like this when I'm got it full screen, but I can't get it to. It won't do it.
Is it on the Garmin?
Screen. I think it's just because when you're on all of them. I think it's the Garmin though. Yeah, the Garmin. Yep. I think it's because you're bringing that big 12-inch screen down to a small screen. Now it's able to give that quality resolution as opposed to having it, expanded on the big screen. Maybe that's why it does it. It's like an automatic thing, but
because I think like when I do split screen, I can on my Hummingbird, I can select between the two and then go into the options and change everything.
Yeah, you can hit each square and change your options, but I couldn't find whatever that chirp it was talking about was on there. It was pretty cool.
I'll be honest. I always have it on a split screen. It's always at least 2. So I can only get 3 on mine. Right. It's almost always on 3. It's very rare. Actually, all of my presets are 3.
So what I do just specifically for the down scan and for the side scan, I have it on its own screen because the bigger the screen is, the more even though I'm looking down at my screen close when I think I see something, if that screen's half that size, it's gonna be that much harder to see.
Yeah.
So I'll just put my down scan and my chart on the other screen and split in two.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a single screen, so the whole right side is typically the side scan when I'm running it, and then I have the regular and the down scan on the other side of it.
So
I don't use the charts that much.
I would suggest to anybody who has a single screen, because I used to have the 94 SV, which is a 9-inch screen. So what I used to do is have it on full screen, and then when I see a fish, I'll hold my finger on the screen, and I'll bring it up, and I'll hit a waypoint where the fish is, and then I switch the chart. It's on the chart, and I go right over the chart, and you're right on the fish. You'll see them in stacks. I mean, you'll see stacks of fish on the sides. It's pretty cool. The deepest I've seen a big stack of fish was 120 feet. I usually don't fish over that. I'm sure I could see them deeper, but
Yeah, well, there's a couple things. First of all, you're in a center console, so when they're pushing out into the deepest waters, you're not going to be out there because it's going to be 6 degrees, right? And nobody wants to be out on the center console in 6 degrees.
Yeah.
Well, nobody wants to be on anything in 6 degrees.
Yeah, I want to be in a cabin.
Yeah, I'll be in the cabin. I'll run out. I'll drop the line and stick it in a rod holder.
Yeah.
I'll go to circle hooks. So that's really good information on the electronics. It's something we need to talk more about on this channel is the electronics, because a lot of us spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
And they don't really do anything. Like, I can't tell you how many people I know are on auto. Everything is auto.
So that's another thing. You don't want that. Exactly. Yeah, it's a good thing you brought that up too. Like, so I would say you got to play with your contrast, and then you have your sensitivity. So it's weird on certain days. Like, I always keep my screen brightness all the way up, because the brighter it is, the better I'm going to see those fish. But with the contrast, sometimes I'll play with the contrast and sensitivity, because sometimes the screen, when it's like if you go toward Rhode Island, the bottom is more like a bedrock. It's not like rubble pile, and you'll get a lot of dark shading in that bedrock. So I have to get that brighter to
pull it out of there.
Yeah, to really see what's going on inside around that type of bottom for whatever reason. But when it's rock, I don't need it that bright.
Right.
Yeah, because the sand is very bright next to the rock.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
you might be the first person that has talked using electronics for Tautog. Because most people just assume that you just go out to a quote unquote piece and you spot lock on it or you double anchor on it. And as long as you find a wreck, you're in good shape. And it's not true. I mean, you can catch some great fish off of big pieces of structure. They don't need a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And they range out. And a good example is, you go to the jetties. I'll use this as an example. Atlantic City jetties, anything that has finger jetties, right next to a very deep inlet. And the jetties obviously is going to be kind of shallow right next to them. Well, when you catch Tautog there, you don't have to go right down on the rocks. And quite often, even Ed, when we've been out there, we've been in the 35 feet of water where there are no rocks. But it's a heck of a ledge. I mean, it drops off probably 10, 15 feet in 3 feet. So it's like a straight drop, and you're catching them down there.
Yeah.
And people miss that.
So that's just one of the other things I learned. So basically, I assume when water comes up a hill and the current's like a full moon current or a really fast current, like by us in Sound, we've got crazy current. It's way different. Rhode Island and Maryland, it's not as fast, nowhere near. And, in there, it's a bay coming out of the river. Yeah, it's going to be moving water. But once you're out in the ocean, it's just different. I think that water, when it comes up, you've got more of like a stream here as opposed to down here. So that's why they're hanging deep over those ledges. And in full moon currents, one day, that's what I was doing. I was going to ledges I saw that I had just never fished. I'm like, oh, let me try this one. It looks like it's got some rock at the bottom. I'd stop at the top of the ledge, and then I'd have to let my sinker drop. I'd feel it roll and drop, and then finally get to the bottom, and then all of a sudden I get struck, and I'm pulling up like 6 and 7 pounders, second fish, no problem. Like, wow, this is cool. It's just trial and error, just trying to figure it out, basically.
I think it's a big part of it when people, you have to understand the topography at the bottom of the water, right? And it's not, if it's flat, Well, why is the fish going to sit there? Even if there's a boulder, if it's flat all around the boulder, they're not necessarily going to be there. Now it changes when you go offshore a little bit, or out front, as we call it in New Jersey, so out the inlets. But if you can get into a place with a strong current and a ledge, and if that ledge is going perpendicular to the current, so it's cutting across 90 degrees, you got that wash there. And just think of what's happening to any crabs that go over that. They're going to get washed around like in a little washing machine. And that is a perfect spot, an underwater eddy for these fish to sit in. So they're not fighting the current. And literally the food is dropping right in their face every 2 minutes or every 20 seconds, depending on what the flow is doing and where it's coming through. So I think a lot of people need to think about things like that as well. It's not just find a wreck and go fish it. I mean, that's an easy way to do it, and you can get some massive fish on some of these wrecks. But it goes back to the boater etiquette. Why are you fighting over this piece when there's a boulder, 30 yards from you? If you had your side scan on, you'd see it. You'd see that boulder right on that drop, and you'd be fishing that, and you might pull something up.
That's one of the other things that after a couple of years of fishing, being out on the water, I started to see how these captains, they stare you down when they see you in the boat. Like, who's this guy? He's on my piece. This is my spot. This kind of stuff. So then, I just didn't want to fish by anybody anymore.
Yeah.
I wanted to. So to me, and then I'd also look at the herd mentality. Like, these guys you see like 50 boats in this one spot. Like, for example, like the southwest corner of Fisher's Island. Everybody fishes right by that last. I mean, they're loaded in there, so it's a pressured area. So, okay, there's probably a few good fish in there, some good fish, big fish maybe. But if it's that pressured, in a day or two, those fish probably won't be there. So I started to look for pieces that people aren't fishing, even small pieces, like the littlest piece. And you'd be surprised, like the littlest pile of like small rock will hold some nice life. And you're like, wow, what is this doing here?
As long as there's food there's no reason for them to leave.
Right. It's just that the fishermen aren't there. That's why they're there. So, that became an important factor in like my decision making. I wanted to stay away from the other boats, catch my own fish. And then people are like, oh, well, he's got some nice fish. Where's he fishing? It's like, well, I wasn't fishing by you, so you can't say nothing.
Right.
It's like, but then you get like oh yeah, we could be friends. We could share. I was telling Ed about that. Now that's what happened. Another captain happened the other day on Agile's boat. He's a guy I'm friends with. Been on his boat, and he pulled right up next to us, anchored up, dropped out like he says 300 feet of line, and he was within 6 feet of the boat, and it was a north wind, so he had to work the screw to not swing into our boat. And I was like, listen, whatever you do not move. He's like, oh, I'm gonna move us. I'm like, no, you don't move, bro. If you move, he's going to come right in on the spot because this is the right area to be. And, it's just like later on we had to talk about it. He commented on the guy's post on Facebook, like, oh, glad you had a good season. I just want a little respect. And it's like, a little respect? You came up on us, dude. He's like, well, he's like, I give and take. I'm sharing. You're sharing.
That's
like,
not
what do you
sharing.
mean? Like, what are you talking about?
I guess sharing means holding hands.
When did mugging become sharing?
Yeah.
It's like
people need to learn how to find a fish is what it comes down to.
There's a way about it. Like, I've had other captains come across my boat real close to a bunch of them do it, because they see I catch fish and they'll never acknowledge it though. He's not a captain. He doesn't catch fish. Well, there's the pictures. Anyways, like there's a way about it. Communication. Hey, yo, Todd, what's up, man? Is some fish over here? You guys catching? And I'm a friendly guy. I'll say, yeah, sure. This fish, what you want to put your customs on? Go ahead. It's right here. I'll give hand signals this way. That's the drift, But if you're just a jerk and just pull right up and you're like staring at us and you nah, that doesn't cut it, buddy. Like you want respect. Respect is also you giving too. You got to give it back. Like,
yeah, I don't get these people, man. I don't get it. So
it's all ego. They're the best, so they gotta,
It is, and people don't realize that the people that are the captains that don't have those egos, that are just good guys, that are men and women captains that are just good guys, and they just want to hang out, and they'll teach you if you want, or they'll just fish with you if you don't, and they'll just give you a good time and a good experience. Those are the most popular.
Like the great example is Halkias. I mean, I love that guy. That guy's one of the nicest guys in the world that I've met. Good guy.
Yeah.
There's no ego with him. He just was out to have a good time. He'll show you how. He's the one who dialed me in on the jig on how to hold the rod the right way, because I used to grip that thing like it was a bat.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. He's like, just leave it loose in your hand and let the rod, like a pendulum, it'll be balanced. And when a big fish grabs it, the tip's going to go down. It's going to pull your line. He's swimming with it, and then grip and pull up. And sure enough, I'm like, damn, I'd see these fish swimming off, big fish swimming off. I'm like, this is cool.
That's how I almost lose rods. I do that, and then I'm not paying attention. I have so many videos of a rod flying out of my hand and me just grabbing it before it goes underwater.
That and those captains are the ones, they're not going to give you the answer like do X, Y, and Z. They're going to make you think about it and come to the right conclusion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Passerino, I saw him doing that on the one trip we took last year.
I haven't got to fish with him yet.
Yeah, I that guy's a killer captain, man. I watch all his posts. I definitely love to fish his boat.
He's a different thing. So not only is he a good guy, but he's just really freaking good. But I'll tell you one thing that he does, and he was talking about it when we were heading out. He was talking about how he worked with a network of other captains, and they all worked together. And they'd stay off of each other's pieces. They wouldn't get close to each other. And then they'd radio, "Hey, I'm off this one. No life. If you want to check it out, it's open." And then they'd move in.
That's because those guys have brains. Yeah. I mean, what? Wow.
Yeah, he's getting calls. Hey, if you guys want, it's your choice. If you want to, we can make a 10-mile run. And there's a little bit more life, but nothing spectacular. But it's your charter. Do you want to do it?
Right.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's do it, or no. Let's just stick with what we're doing. But those are the different kinds of. That's the kind of people that I appreciate. I'm not with the ego guys. There's a lot of ego that's out there that I just can't stand. I can't stand it.
Typically, the ego's going to try. Those types of dudes are trying to overcome further their shortcomings. You know what I mean? Or overcompensate, I should say.
Yeah, they're the ones that say, "I'm dialed in. I'm dialed in. I'm dialed in." Okay,
I don't know. They have no idea what the hell they're doing.
Right. It's the ones that are humble and they'll make fun of themselves and say, "Yeah, we got lucky. We had a good day. We've had a good season. We're feeling them this season. But they know that they have a lot to learn." Those are the kind of guys that I like to hang out with and go out with. But listen, we're getting close to the end here, but we can't. There's too many questions we haven't asked yet, so I'm gonna run through some. You talked about the hook that you started with. What are you using now? What rigs or jigs are you using now?
Definitely, I'll never go back to a single hook. 2 hooks, the 5.0 octopus hook, Gamakatsu or owner's preferred. With the 2 hooks, I have videos out. You'll have the crab like this, and the crab won't come off the hook so easy. And not only that, if the fish tries to pull it, because they're always trying to get off the hook, they're smart. They'll either hit the one hook on this side or this side, or a big fish will get both. So that's a game changer for me, was switching to the 2 hooks, whether it's a slider. I like to use a slider. I'm like, you don't use a snafu or anything like that, but it works just as good.
Right.
It's just easier, faster for me. It's all about fast and easy. Keep it simple, But it was one of the other white crab, the white crab and the mud crab. It's all like those fish. They, especially in deep and big fish, they prefer the smart ones. They'll maybe peck at the green crabs, but they're much more aggressive on the white crab. Like one trip we went out, I didn't have the whites, and it's an area that we get big fish. If we have whites, it was all like 16 and 17 inch fish. I'm like, the whole, that's all it was, the whole boat. I'm like, damn. I'm like, it makes that much of a difference,
So when you go out, do you go? I've asked this question to a lot of people with a lot of different species, and as an example, Frank Mahalik talking about blackfish, he goes out for one bite. He wants one bite on the right fish all day.
Is that Mike says that. Me, I just like catching fish. I mean, like, I'm not.
So you and Ed are the same.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like catching a big fish, but
I'll take quantity.
Yeah, I want quality with quantity, but I'm not looking for the one. I'm never looking for the one. I'm just looking to catch fish and have fun,
Yeah.
but I know those guys, and like Mike Snowski, he's one of them. He wants that one, and I've seen him pull up so many DDs the last 2 weeks on every trip. He gets the big fish. Like the guy looks for that right bite and does it, man. And so that's something I might try to hone in on a little more, because I like to. If it's something I can't do, I always work my hardest to be able to do it, and it's just in my nature. It's how I am.
But, I haven't gotten the big tog yet. I haven't even had a double digit. I think my closest was 8 pounds, 14 ounces or 12 ounces, something like that. It was under 9 pounds. That's all that matters. And I'm still in the phase where we can, the perfect day for me would be to catch a ton of fish, and then in the last hour catch one that's a double digit. So I want both.
I would say with the big fish, going to like places like Rhode Island, Maryland, where they have a lot larger quantity of those bigger fish, it's a different bite with those fish. And after having fish down there, when I came here back home and started, hitting deeper grounds and wrecks, and I noticed it was a similar bite, just the water's moving faster. It's the same thing. So you got to be very patient with the big fish, because they'll peck at it. The 8.7 I caught the other day, thing just tapped it. 30 seconds went by. It like gave another scratch a little harder, another 30 seconds, and then all of a sudden, bam, he chewed on it. I set the hook, and that was it. And Mike said, he's like, that was the one. Mike tells me that when there's a big fish around, the other fish, it'll bully, they'll stay away. He says he believes. I don't know if he's seen it on video or what, but there's definitely something to it, because I've seen it happen with other guys who catch big fish.
I'm going to get a camera down and watch some of that. But I have seen it in some where they will move out. They'll stay real close, but then when the big fish comes in and it approaches that bait, they kind of scatter off. They're not going to fight the big fish for it.
Yeah. I've seen one of Skinner's videos you just put out, actually. It was other tournament. You had one big fish come in, bang, push everybody off. That's the bite he's looking for, and he swims away with it. But
well, hopefully we get a day like that coming up, Ed, because I'm only going fishing once before the end of this year. And
you're cheap.
I am cheap. I'm too busy.
You got to put your time in. That's the thing. Like these guys that are doing it regularly, they put their time in like every week.
Right. And I'm going to rely on the captain of the boat, the captain of the Osprey, to put me in an area where I have a shot at some decent fish. And he's a good captain. And I'll tell you what, he likes to come out on deck, and he's hilarious. I love hanging out with that guy.
He is pretty cool.
I don't even know if he'd recognize me or remember me, but when he comes on deck, I just start laughing, because the things he says are so ridiculous and funny that and out of nowhere, that's just the things he says. So it's a good boat.
Hold on, let me interrupt with this one. Participation trophy. He's got to give Blackfish a serious try.
Oh, come on now. He hasn't yet?
Oh, dude.
Where are you from, sir? Or madam?
We can make fun of participation trophy. Long time watcher of this stream and in the chat all the time. I'm actually surprised that there's not a lot of blackfishing in the history right there. Man.
The canal and the jetty. Okay, so he does the canal and the jetty. So this is what you're going to do when we announce the date for our Osprey trip. You're going to pay them their $120, and you're going to come fishing with us for time.
Yeah, it'll be out tomorrow. Are there any questions that we missed? There are some great people in here that I think came over with you, Todd, that I've not seen in the chat before, with some really good information in the chat. So anyone watching the replay, or in the chat right now, when it's done, just hang out for a bit, and you might want to go back and take a look at some of them. There's some sources of videos in there that can help.
There's and welcome to all the new folks as well. Definitely. Yeah. Thank you for coming over.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so hard because I see these guys asking questions, but we're doing like me. I am focused. I like a hawk. That's my wife. She's all over the place. She can do it. I can't do that. So it was hard. I was looking, so I'm saying sorry to anybody who was asking questions. I was trying to keep up with it, but I'm focused on one thing at a time. I can't do any more than one thing.
That's how I am. That's
what I'm here for. I'm here to sift through the comments.
Yeah, that's what Ed does, because I just get too locked in on the conversation, and it's usually too late before I notice something.
And brother Tom is asking if we're doing a group trip.
Yes.
Yes, but we're only allowing one Natoli on the boat at a time.
Oh, that's Tony's pointing that out. The bank sinkers, that's a big thing too. So if you have those regular sinkers, they roll on the bottom in current, and a big fish, you're not supposed to be bouncing your sink or any of that. Yeah, bank sinkers are the way to go.
These are the way to go. I
Oh,
even
yeah.
bought the mold to make them.
Yeah, that's how I make mine too. Yeah, because we lose them. So
yeah, you're definitely going to lose them.
I will say, give the Tsunami Saltex hooks a look. The new ones that just came out.
Tsunami Saltex. It's
They
an
are-
octopus hook?
Yeah.
Okay.
They
What
are.
kind of is it like a cutting tip or?
I think they're chemically. I think they're chemically sharpened. I didn't read the package. I've heard good things, so I just grabbed them and tried them.
Right.
And so far, I'm impressed. I think it's like $15 for a 30 pack, which isn't terrible.
As long as they don't bend or break, that's what because the big fish is they break them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to have one break. I mean,
no, it sucks, man. it's Gamakatsu's like snapping on me left and right. That's why I went to owner.
See, I used the Gamakatsu, but I have had an owner break, but not when tog fishing. I had a break.
I had an owner break once, not as many as the Gami. So, yeah.
I tend to believe if it breaks, it's usually my fault. But tog fight a little bit different because you have to win that battle at the bottom near those boulders and near the wreck. So you really have to put a ton of pressure on them. So
that's the other thing that will make a huge difference is, everybody likes to fish light tackle, but if you're looking for a big fish, you can't do that. I mean, to some degree you can. Like I lost on opening day last season. I've never felt the blackfish that strong. I think it was maybe 18 pounds, something big, because I felt one that was probably in the 15 range based upon the 12 I had caught. And this fish had my rod doubled over and was just ripping drag faster than I had ever seen. It broke my 15-pound test. My braid like way up high on the second run, and I'm just trying to keep it up. And after that, I'm like, no more. I'm like, I don't care about light tackle. I'm gonna go to a 30. I'll do 20 on the jig. I haven't had it broken off yet with the jig, but with the rig, that means you're fishing current, which means you need that extra strength, because if the fish uses the current to its advantage, it's going to take a harder run, and you're going to have a failure somewhere,
Yeah.
All right, I got two more. Frank Mahalik says Saltex is a needle point. Quite good. Tip may roll off, but the wire is very strong.
Well, Frank would know.
And then Ben from Crabbing and Fishing, what is your rig, rod, and reel, your go-to?
So the rig, it's a double overhand knot. I think they call it the surgeon's loop, right? For my sinker, and about 2 inches up from that knot, I'll do another double overhand, but about 4 to 4.5 inches long, and I slide 1.50 on, put another on, put it over the hook, twist, and then back over and cinch it down. That's my slider rig, 2 hooks, and that's it. 40-pound test minimum for the leader. And FG knots always, because they never fail. The ones that I tie, I do 6 half hitches at the top. Yeah. They have had them fail at 4, so I'll do 2, then I'll tighten it down, do another 4, and with 6 I haven't had it fail.
So do you reverse the direction of the finish, or do you tie it off?
No, just
6 in the same direction.
Same direction, one over the other. One of those, cinch it down, and it's a nice tight stack.
Yeah. Rumor has it that it actually weakens it when you switch directions on it. I don't know how that could be true, but I've heard it multiple times. I do the same direction. I do about 6 to 8, just because I try to get as much of the slack in there, all the extra tag, and then I cut it off. So it's way overkill, but I've only had, I believe, 1 fail, and it was because I obviously didn't cinch it at the beginning. So it just slid right out. I never tightened it.
So he said rod and reel. I gotta say, probably the most favorite rod that I've been using and I pulled a 12 up with it. I want to get bigger on it. I want to see what it can handle. They beta tested it in Florida, and they said it'll handle up to 40 pounds. Baby grouper is the Skinner Jig Mount spinning rod. That thing is sweet. I mean, it's small, light, strong, and it's super fun. Will it pull up like one of these 20s and 16s and 18s that these guys that I fish with pull up? that's yet to be known, you know.
Right.
But I love that rod, and I'll use it for the rig and jig, spinning. Like a lot of guys say, no, you're supposed to go to the conventional rod for the rig. But I have just as much fun and no problems with a spinning rod for the rig.
Yeah, if you have the right drag setting, and I mean,
yeah, and as far as the reel, I would say, I don't know. I got a lot of Shimano. The Twin Power, I like the Shimano, the CXG. Yeah, I like the HC2, but for some reason that CXG 5000, it feels smoother to me. I mean, the other one's supposed to be better, but it just feels smoother to me. And with a bigger, like as opposed to a 3000, I feel with that 5000 having a bigger spool, that 1-2 crank, you're getting more line
sure.
on the reel. That's why I like it. Instead of having to be like 5-6 cranks fighting this big fish, it's dropping too fast. Maybe it gets off. Typically that doesn't happen with Tautog, but I've had it happen with other fish.
Right.
So,
well,
so
especially
I
up
like,
where you're fishing, because you're not
yeah.
fishing. You're not typically fishing actual wrecks, right? You're fishing.
No, I fish
more
wrecks.
bold-
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
are fishing wrecks.
Oh yeah, I fish
Oh,
in
okay.
wrecks, ledges, boulders. Yep.
So you're finding you have enough
ground.
backbone to get it out and away from that, and so when it digs on its run, it's not getting back into the structure.
I've gotten 8, anything close to 10. Yeah. Above that, you really got to have your drag tight. And with like 30 bigger line, like 30. That's the thing. Otherwise, it's just pulling you in. I've had a few pull me in and lost them.
Well, that's the one thing also that would go for that 5000 size reel is you're going to have significantly higher drag. If you just look at pens, a 3000 only has 18 pounds, but a 5000 I think has 26 or 28.
Yeah. But
that's
I
a
don't
big
think
difference.
I don't think you're locking it down that tight unless you're using like 40, 50-pound test braid.
Right. Well, I did hook into a Tog on it was probably around 7.5 pounds, and I locked down that 3000 pen at 18 pounds, and it was pulling. Yeah, I mean, it was pulling drag at will until it made a couple runs, and then it came up easily. But yeah, I was surprised. I didn't think I was going to get that, because you know what? You don't get that much pull. I can easily, and I have easily landed 50+ inch striped bass without as much trouble as it had on that little Tog. I don't know what was wrong with it, but it was going bananas. It was probably 6.5, 7.5 pounds.
Yeah, those little fish are powerful, man.
Yeah, they're nuts.
That's why I love them so much. It's a great fight.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Ed, are there any others that we missed?
No, I think we're pretty good.
Okay, all right. Well, Todd, thanks for coming on, man.
You're welcome, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah, it's good information. It's great to have you on. Hopefully, this was good getting cast over to your YouTube channel. So hopefully it helps you out over there as well. Guys, if you are not subscribed to his channel, go over there at Long Island Lethals, subscribe to it. You're going to love the content over there. It's one of the ones that I've been subscribed to for years and actually watch. I've been subscribed to some that I've never watched, but this is one that I've watched regularly. And I'll go through, as we go forward, some other ones that I would recommend. And look in the chat. It looks like we have some other people that are putting out videos that you might want to check out. So thanks a lot for coming on.
You're welcome, guys.
And Ed and I will be back next week. We're going to talk about things that you can buy.
Christmas.
For Christmas. For yourself.
Christmas.
Pretend to buy it for other people. Or
see if I can get the wife to watch that one.
Yeah, get her on. Get her on next week. We'll give a good list of things. Send your tips in there as well. We'll put yours up there.
Yeah, if there's any specialty items, let us know.
Yeah, right, we'll put it up there, and then after that, we're going to be getting Scotty back in here at some point during the month of December. So keep an eye on Facebook tomorrow. It's going to be up there, the Osprey. So look for New Jersey Osprey. I think it's New Jersey Osprey Fishing, but look it up on Facebook, and we'll put the date that we're going to be out there. And until next time, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Get out there, get on the water, get some tight lines.